All of us contribute because we all use fossil fuels, either through power, transportation systems, the things you buy, developed by industry, or normally using coal or oil in the manufacturing, maybe providing power to the company. So it's all around us. That's why the United States is 25% of the total source of the increase in carbon dioxide that is affecting our climate system.
It is the aggregate of all of the individuals, 6.5 billion of us, that is responsible for putting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Predominantly, we do it in two ways. One, by the electricity that we use to run our appliances at home, and by transportation, which burns gasoline or diesel. Either one puts out carbon dioxide. So some people emit more CO2 than others. For example, people in the United States emit the most CO2 per person of any country. People in England and Europe emit half as much per person as a person does in the United States, and a person in China and India emits 1/6 as much as a person in the United States. And as I said in my lecture yesterday, there's 7 times more people in India and China than there are in the United States. And so if they develop in the future where we did in the past, they have the potential to emit 42 times, 7 times 6, 42 times more CO2 than the United States. And since the United States now emits about 1/4 of the world, that means that those two countries alone in the future have the potential to emit 10 times more than the whole world does now, which makes this a difficult problem to solve, all the more so because all the CO2 and other greenhouse gases that have gone into the atmosphere up to the present have been the responsibility of the United States, the countries in Europe and Japan. But even if all those countries stopped emitting completely right away, India and China will more than overshadow that by a factor of 10, possibly. And if they develop to be twice as efficient as the United States, that is, as in the UK and Europe, they'll still emit 5 times more than the entire world. That makes this a tough problem to handle. So on campus, one thing to do would be, if they're using coal to produce electricity over the power plant, coal produces more CO2 per unit of energy than does oil, and oil produces more than does natural gas, methane. So one way to reduce emissions is to have fuel switching from coal to oil to natural gas. Another way is to do what the students have done, which is to purchase 3 wind turbines. That's going to make up only a small fraction of the total energy used on campus, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And I see it's not inconceivable to put up more wind turbines on the university property and generate electricity that way. Of course, the university now is very interested in reducing its energy utilization because it's costing a lot of money, right? And so many of the buildings, this one included, you just heard probably the air conditioning going on. Maybe the camera didn't hear it, but it just went on. These buildings were built inexpensively in terms of energy conservation because electricity was cheap when it was built. And that wasn't very forward-looking. Maybe it was the right decision at that particular time, at least for a few years after the decision was made, but it's not the right decision now. So one way over time is to replace these energy inefficient buildings with much more efficient buildings buildings that use much less illumination during the daytime. We could probably turn the lights off. The camera would be still working. I think it would adapt. So, yeah, it is through the aggregate of all of us that we can make this big change.
There are many things you can do to save energy. For example, this is the easiest one we can all do. When you're about to leave, turn off the lights. Simple as that. When brushing your teeth, turn off the water. When you're finished brushing, you can turn the water back on to rinse, but you don't need to leave it running while you're brushing your teeth because it is wasteful.
Another great way to conserve energy is by riding your bike. It's a great way to get around, especially on campus, as opposed to using a car that uses up so much gas.
A suggestion that was provided in class by Dr. Wibbles is to plug in all of your appliances or TV and computer into a power strip. So when you leave, all you have to do is turn the power switch off. Another thing you can do when you're leaving is to turn your computer into hibernate or sleep mode. So it saves power while you're not using it because you don't need to leave your computer on when you're not home. Another great way to save energy is to open your blinds and let in natural sunlight instead of turning on the light switches. And if it's nice outside, open your windows and turn off the heat or air and let in fresh air.